In the 22nd century Earth, the technology of ideology has become the second lifeline of human beings. The flesh of the real world is just a container, and real life has long been transferred to the digital universe, a boundless world composed of international data. There are endless resources, unknown secrets, and the coolest power struggles there. Moon Madam never thought that he would become part of this universe. The upload of the consciousness is completed. Welcome to the digital universe. Identity verification, Moon, a native of the Earth, first login. The cold mechanical sound echoed in the sea of brain, and Yuechan opened her eyes quietly and found herself floating in an endless sea of stars. There are countless light spots that are plotted like meteors, and the data points far away are like huge planets, radiating the light of blue. She looked down and saw that her body was translucent, like a condensation of flowing data. This is the digital universe? Moon Madam murmured, his voice showing a little bit of space in this virtual space. She tried to slap her hands and found that she could easily change the light and shadow around her, and even summon a small piece of star cloud. She couldn't help laughing, this is so cool. It's much stronger than the real world. However, the joy did not last for a few seconds, and a harsh warning suddenly sounded. The red warning light flashed in her field, and the mechanical sound came again, warning. A high-energy data conflict was detected, and it is recommended that new users evacuate the current date immediately. What? Retreat? How to retreat? Yuechan was confused. She had not figured out the situation yet. A dazzling light suddenly burst out from the starry sea far away. Several huge virtual warships broke through the sky, and their shells seemed to be made of countless pieces of debris, emitting dangerous red light. Around the warship, dozens of small flying ships were fighting fire, and the energy waves exploded in the sea of stars and turned into data smoke. Is the star-stealing data plundering war? Moon Madam widened his eyes, and a piece of information automatically appeared in the brain. This is the norm of the digital universe. The powerful plunder the weak's data resources, and the hero is the king. She felt nervous. I won't just come, right? This game is too hardcore. She tried to move her body and found that she was like a child who had just learned to walk and could not control her direction at all. Just as she was busy, a small flying boat suddenly rushed out of the battlefield and hit her. In the pilot of the flying boat, a girl's virtual image shouted, "Hey! Newbie! Hide! Do you want to become a data fragment?" Moon Madam was stunned, but he had not reacted yet, and the flying boat was already close. At the critical moment, a strange straightforward feeling suddenly flashed through her brain. The data structure of the flying boat was like a pile of irregular codes unfolding in front of her eyes. She subconsciously reached out her hand and sniffed, "Stop." A strange scene happened. The data flow of the flying ship seemed to have been destroyed and stopped less than 1 meter away from her. The girl in the driving wheel was stunned, and after a while he returned to his senses from the shock. The clan of Viagra shouted, What monster are you? How can you directly interfere with the data flow?" I don't know either." Yuechan himself was also stunned. He looked down at his hands and found that there was a faint blue light emitting from his fingertips. A strange message swelled into her brain. She had the ability to manipulate data, could access any international system and change the rules. This is her golden finger and her greatest reliance on survival in the digital universe. "Don't be stunned," the girl shouted in a hurry. "My name is Yuechan, I am an independent voyager, and I am now being chased by the international sea. If you can help me get sleepy, I promise to take you out of this battle zone." Yuechan clicked a little. Although she didn't fully understand the situation, she just told her that Yuechan was not a bad person. She turned to look at the warships that were approaching far away, and felt a slight feeling in her heart. "Okay, help you. But I don't have much experience. Don't blame me if I messed up." Yuechan rolled her eyes and said unhappily, "Novices, it's good to be alive. Don't pick 3 or 4. Hurry up, their firepower network will lock me up." Moon took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and tried to sink his mind into the surrounding data flow. Her vision became different in an instant, with countless numbers flowing in front of her eyes, and the energy core of the warship, weapon systems, and even the communication channels between the sea and the scoundrel were all visible. She picked the largest warship and slapped her lips slightly. Just take your knife. Her consciousness was like a flexible touch, instantly invading the data core of the warship. The communication channel of the Sea Thunder was shocked. What's going on? The system is out of control. The weapon cannot be activated. The energy core is locked. We are being impregnated. Moon Master opened his eyes quietly and shook his hand. The core data of the warship was directly modified by her, and all the energy flow exploded in reverse instantly. The next second, the warship exploded into a group of data debris in the sea of stars, turning into countless light spots and dissipated. The other sea thieves were all shocked, and the communication channel was in chaos. Who was this? How could our core system be cracked? Li Jingyi looked at everything in a daze, and after a while he poked out from the flying boat. Zhu Yeye gave a thumbs up. Awesome, a novice. Your ability is so simple. Are you the clone of a big guy, right? Yuzi slapped her head and felt a little embarrassed. I don't know what's going on, but I'm just quite a bit smooth. Are you okay? I'll just regain my life after giving you more. Li Jingyi jumped off the boat and came to Yuezi's body. Her virtual image is a short-haired girl, wearing a star-studded star navigation suit, looking dry and a bit of slutty. She looked up and down at Moon Master, and said, I can't tell. You, a novice, can actually destroy a whole sea siege team. Tell me, who are you? My name is Yuzi, and I just uploaded it to the digital universe and I don't know anything. Yuzi replied in a real way, and then couldn't help asking, yes, do you know how to check other people's awareness data? My family also uploaded it, but I don't know where they are. Li Jingyi's eyebrows were stern, and her lingerie became a little solemn. Inquiring consciousness data is no small matter. Although the digital universe is large, the core data is controlled by a guy named Yubin. He is the overlord of this star sea, and he has countless maritime groups under his command. Even an independent voyager like me dare not mess with him. If you want to find family, you must have enough strength to dig out information from him. Yubin. Yuzi murmured, and a fire ignited in her heart. She clenched her fists and looked calm. No matter how difficult it is, I will find them. No matter how big this digital universe is, it cannot hold me. Li Jingyi looked at her expression and couldn't help laughing. Ambition. I like your temperament. That's it. Anyway, I owe you a life, so why don't we be with us? I'm good at Voyage in the Stars and can bring you familiar with this sea of stars. As for you, you can use your intrusion ability to help me get the trouble. What's the matter? Yuzi was stunned for a moment, then grinned. Document. But let me say first, I don't like being cheated. If you dare to fool me, I will clear your flying boat data. Ha, don't worry, Li Jingyi, never cheated on my teammates. Li Jingyi patted her shoulder and pointed to a data point away. Then is a mid-range station. Let's replenish the resources first, so let's give you some information about the survival rules of the digital universe. Let's go, the future boss. Yuzi clicked a little and followed Li Jingyi toward the starlight. She was both excited and nervous. The digital universe just entered a data plundering battle, and unexpectedly discovered her Goldfinger ability. It was all like dreaming, but she knew it was just the beginning. The family was still waiting for her in an unknown corner, and the guy named Yubin would have long become her opponent. The Sea of Stars is vast, and the adventure just kicks off. Moon Madam followed Li Jingyi through a sea of starry sky, and the light and shadow of the digital universe flowed around her, like a dream that never ended. The data point far away is getting closer and closer. It is like a huge blue planet, with no data flowing on the surface, scattering energy waves. Li Jingyi's flying boat trembled slightly and then landed in a virtual mooring area. This place is called Blue Nuclear Port, which is a mid-range station. Li Jingyi jumped off the boat and patted the ship beside her. The head turned to Moon. In this sea of stars, independent voyagers, and small-scale masculine groups often come to this place to trade resources and repair data to get hurt. You just come to the digital universe and have to learn more survival skills, otherwise you may be swallowed up at any time without any data residue. The moonlight was a little bit, and the four sides were looking at each other. This blue nuclear port is like a virtual market, with countless translucent figures flying in the air, some carrying small data modules, some driving old virtual flying boats, and some gathering together to talk in low voices, with rings in their eyes. She could feel the chaos and danger of this place, but at the same time she was filled with some strange attraction. Survival skills. For example? Yuma asked, trying to adjust his virtual condition so that he would not look like a novice. Li Jingyi grinned and pointed at a stub at a distance, with various light modules piled up, for example, how to identify valuable data resources, how to negotiate with people and still price, and how to cheat others before being cheated. She put on the verge of a low voice, there is no law in the digital universe, the strong are king. My mother was nervous and remembered the firepower of the sea scoundrels on the battlefield just now, and couldn't help asking, is that being targeted, you said has something to do with that you bin? Li Jingyi's face sank and pointed, it's right. Yu Bin is the overlord of the digital universe. He controls dozens of core data points under his command. All the strongest groups in the stars and the circles have to listen to him. He doesn't allow anyone to challenge his authority. You just smashed a whole warship with one move, which probably has attracted the attention of some people. So annoying. Yu was a little dissatisfied. No matter how bad he is, he can't care about every starry sea, right? I just want to find my family, but I don't plan to go against him. Hey, the problem lies here. Li Jingyi snatched her shoulders and took Moon to a position. The conscious data library of the digital universe is at the core of Yu Bin's control. If you want to find a family, you have to compete with his strength. So, we have to strengthen ourselves first, at least have to have the ability to protect ourselves in order to get into that marijuana. Yu was silent for a moment, then her eyes calmed down, then let's be immature. Didn't you say you want to form a team? Where should we start? Li Jingyi's eyes lit up and patted Yuezi's shoulder, have courage. I have long wanted to form a few teams, but I have never encountered suitable ones. With this ability, you are simply a divine teammate from the sky. In this way, we will recruit a few team members from the blue nuclear port first, and then plunder a few small data points, use resources, and improve our combat power. What do you think? It sounds good. Yuzi pointed at the head and then added, but I have no experience. If you come here, I will be responsible for, well, are you responsible for fighting? Huh, the deal. Li Jingyi laughed and took her to the depths of the market, let's go and see if there are any suitable goods. Remember, don't expose your abilities at will, and be low-coordinated. In the next few hours, Moon Madam followed Li Jingyi to relocate at the blue nuclear port and saw the other side of the digital universe. There are all kinds of people here. Some of them are powerful warriors, some are strange and striking data monsters, and some even appear directly in the form of pure light groups. They trade various resources, from data modules to virtual weapons, and even some rare, intellectual fragments, which say they can increase the strength of virtual conditions. Finally, Li Jingyi found two guys whom she wanted to join in a broken bar module. One is called Iron Shark, and the virtual image is a large piece full of mechanical parts. It is good at fighting data conflicts and can turn one's body into heavy weapons. The other is called Phantom, which is a female image with a vague figure, specializing in potential and information collection, saying that it can hide its own data traces, and even high-level scans cannot be found. You are the only one. Yuzi looked at the two new teammates and was a little suspicious. What big thing can our team do? The Iron grinned, and the sound was like a metal collision. Don't underestimate us. I can smash the data core of a small warship with one punch, and I guarantee that I will not drag my back legs. Phantom glanced at Yuechan coldly, and his voice was low. I can help you avoid most of the follow-ups. If you can't believe it, you can break up now. Don't miss it. Li Jingyi hurriedly fought on the roundabout and said with a smile, "We have just started this team, so everyone should work together more. Yuechan is a novice, but she is very capable. With her here, we will definitely do something big. The first step is to plunder a small data point and try water." "What's the matter?" Everyone looked at each other and tried to stop. Moon's heart was a little nervous, but more of it was expecting. She never thought that she would take a stranger to be the starry in the digital universe. It all seemed like a crazy adventure, but she knew that this was her first step to finding her family. A few days later, the Yuechan team drove Li Jingyi's flying boat to a remote sea of stars. "There is a small data point here, Phantom Story. The guardianship is not strong, and the resources are very rich, which is suitable for them to start with such a novice team." The flying boat stopped outside the hall, and Moon Madam looked at the data ball with faint light, and his heartbeat inexplicably accelerated. "Are you ready?" Li Jingyi stood in the driving car, checking the energy module of the flying boat, and turned to everyone. "Phantom is responsible for diving, breaking their warning system. The Iron and I are raking in front of each other, attracting firepower. Yuechan, you support from the back and prepare to interfere with their data at any time. Action!" With a command, Phantom's figure instantly blurred, turning into a group of shadows, diving into the inside of the hall. The Iron roared and jumped directly from the flying boat. His body changed in the air, and his hands turned into two giant horns, smashing hard towards the defense wall outside the spot. The battle exploded quickly. Although the guardian power in the daytime was not strong, it responded very quickly. Several dozen small defense modules quickly gathered to attack the Iron and Li Jingyi. The energy wave exploded in the sea of stars, and data fragments flew everywhere. In Yuechan's vision, countless codes flowed. She quickly locked the core of a defense module, realized it and directly modified its attack command to allow it to turn its head to attack its companions. "Fuck beautifully!" Li Jingyi shouted in the communication channel, driving the boat to avoid a wave of energy rush, and at the same time rushed into the interior of the hall. "Phantom, has the warning been blocked?" "It's done." Phantom's voice came from the channel, carrying a bit of pride. "Their main system has reacted quickly, and now is the best time to come in and grab resources." Yuechan relaxed her voice and followed her teammates into the venue. It looks like a huge database, with countless light modules floating in the air, emitting inspiring light. She followed Li Jingyi's instructions and began to collect these resources, while using her own abilities to block out some potential data traps. "The first time I was robbed, although the process was a bit shocking, the result was surprisingly smooth. They were full of work, and when they returned to the blue nuclear port, everyone was so excited. This is just the beginning." Li Jingyi patted Yuechan's shoulder and smiled so hard that she couldn't hold her mouth. "With these resources, we can upgrade to the flying boat and get some equipment. I have chosen the next goal, which is a bigger point, with too many resources to make us turn over." The moonlight was docked, and a fire ignited in my heart. She found that she was a little bit damn about this kind of adventure life. Every battle made her more mature in the ability to control data, and also gave her a deeper understanding of the rules of the digital universe. She began to believe that as long as the team continued to grow, one day she would find her family. However, success didn't last long. In the next few robberies, the reputation of the Moon basketball team grew, and their news began to be circulated in the blue nuclear port. A new small scoundrel group with a great ability to enter, and even some old teams began to avoid it. But fame brings not only resources, but also danger. This day, they locked a medium-sized data point and prepared for a big move. The Phantom dived in early, confirming that the guardianship was not strong, so the whole team moved quickly. However, when they moved inside the stage, they found that the situation was a little uneven, the surrounding data currents were often confused, and there was a dangerous wave of movement. "Is this a data virus?" Li Jingyi's face changed and she stopped flying the boat suddenly, shouting in the communication channel, "Be careful. There is a problem here, it may be a trap." Before the sound was finished, the data flow inside the day suddenly stormed, and countless red light spots rushed towards their virtual state and flying boats. The iron roared and swung his eyes, trying to smash the lights, but his attack seemed to hit the air, with no effect. The Phantom's voice was panicked. This virus can corrupt data and form, and our defense system has been cracked. Yukeo's heart sank, and his mind quickly sank into the data flow. She discovered that these red light spots are not a single attack module, but a certain advanced virus that can directly invade their virtual core. If not stopped, within a few minutes, their data situation will be completely decomposed, and their consciousness may even be permanently destroyed. Ingi, cover me up. Yuzi gritted her teeth, whispered, stretched out her hands, and her fingertips were bright and bright. Her mind was like a huge network trying to intercept the data flow of these viruses. But the number of viruses is actually too large, and her consciousness is almost suppressed, and a stinging pain comes from the sea of brain. Yuzi, can you do it? Don't be too stubborn. Li Jingyi was anxious, drove the boat and rushed to her, trying to use the energy barrier to fight for her. I can do it. Yuzi bit her teeth and firmly practiced to stabilize her mind. She found that these viruses are not unacceptable. There is a series of core codes hidden in their data structure. As long as you crack these codes, you can reversely control the virus. Her consciousness turned into countless touches, crazily invaded the core of the virus, and finally found a broken hole at the last moment. Break it for me. Yuzi growled and pulled her mind suddenly, and the core code was modified by her. The next second, the attack of the red lights suddenly stopped, and then turned toward each other, turning into a group of data fragments and dispersed. It's done. The iron yelled, full of surprise, Yuzi, you're just a monster. Can you handle this? Yuezi was gasping for a long time, her mind was a little weak, but a smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. It's good. I didn't disappoint you. However, this virus certainly did not form naturally, and someone deliberately set this trap. It's okay. Phantom's voice came from the communication channel, with a bit of solemnity. I just scanned the remaining data of the day and found a mark. This is Yubin's handwriting. They have noticed us, this time it's a warning, and next time it may be a full effort to chase it. Yubin. Yuzi clenched his fists tightly, and anger ignited in his heart. She didn't expect that this would soon face the overlord of this digital universe. But she was not afraid, but she had an inexplicable desire to fight. Since they have come to the door, we can't sit there. Li Jingyi sneered and pointed to the depths of the day. Although this trap is dangerous, it also shows that there is something good here. Let's go in and wipe out the resources, and then see if we can tell the story. Everyone clicked their heads and quickly rushed toward the core of the day. Sure enough, in the core area, they discovered an abandoned virtual warship. Although the data was a bit damaged, its energy core and weapon system were far superior to Li Jingyi's small flying ship. Munma used his ability to repair the data flow of the warship and successfully started it. This guy is ours. The iron slapped the outer shell of the warship and laughed. With this thing, our fighting power has increased by at least 3 times. If Yubin's subordinates come, we can also fight for a few more times. Moon Madam stood in the driving stockings, looking at the sea of stars outside the window, feeling a little heavy. Although the counterattack was successful, she knew that Yubin's strength was far beyond their imagination. Phantom found a missing story at the festival, showing that her family's vision data might be stored in a core section called Dark Core. It was the core of Yubin's power, and the Guardian power was strong enough that even the old mascots dared not approach it. Dark Core. Yuzi murmured, her eyes flashing with a hint of determination. No matter how dangerous she is, she has to go there. Family was her only reason for coming to the digital universe, and she would never give up. Don't think too much. Li Jingyi walked to her and patted her on the shoulder. We are not very capable now, but as long as we continue to plunder resources, we will be able to compete with Yubin one day. Let's go, take this warship back to the blue nuclear port, so that those guys can see our harm. Yuezhao clicked the head, followed his teammates to drive the warship, and flew towards the blue nuclear port. In the sea of stars, the energy waves of the warship emitted dazzling light, like a new star rising. Their names are spreading in the digital universe, but even greater storms are approaching quietly. Moonchu stood in the newly acquired warship driving, and through the virtual window, he looked at the direction of the blue nuclear port. The energy core of the warship emits a low buzzing sound, and data flows on the surface of the ship, like a flashing shield. Their team is gradually stumbled in the digital universe, and many people have begun to discuss this new small scoundrel group, especially the girl who can easily access data, Moonlight. This warship is really good. The Iron came back and walked back on the bridge, and his rough mechanical fingers hit the console, making a crisp metal sound. The energy output is more than 10 times stronger than that of Jingyi's small broken ship. With this guy, we will meet Yubin's subordinates next time, and we will definitely be in a tough way. Don't be happy too early. Li Jingyi leaned against the console, checking the data module of the warship, with a few worries in her language. Yubin's power cannot be shaken by a warship. The trap of the data virus last time proved that they were aiming at us. Next, we have to be more careful and not take too much steps. Yuzi clicked the head, and his eyes retracted from the sea of stars outside the window and turned to the Phantom. She was standing in a corner of the bridge, her translucent figure as if invisible, and a stream of data flowed between her fingers, the terrible story they found from the previous session. Yuzi walked to her and asked in a low voice, "Phantom, is there any progress in the story about that dark core?" The Phantom raised his head, with a complex look flashing in his eyes, and his voice was low. "I decoded some of the data and confirmed the location of the dark core. It is in the deep star field of the digital universe, and its guardian power is strong and even the old maritime gangs dare not approach it. What's worse, the dark core is the core of Yubin's power, and all the conscious data banks are strictly monitored there. Your family's data is likely to be in it." "Very likely." Yuzi's eyebrows burst into tears, and a sense of anxiety surged in her heart. "Is there any more accurate news?" The Phantom slammed the head, slammed his fingers, and the data flow unfolded in front of her, forming a virtual star. In the center of the star, a black data point emits strange waves, and countless red light spots are circling around it, like a guardian team. Phantom pointed to the spot, and spoke solemnly, "This is the dark core. I can only tell you that this place is not only Yubin's resource library, but also his experiment site. Many of the arrested consciousness data are used for inhumane experiments." "Test?" Yukeo's voice suddenly increased, her hands clamped tightly, and the blue light on her fingertips flashed slightly. "Are you saying that my family might be regarded as a test product?" "This is just a guess." Phantom avoided her gaze and his voice fell. "But based on my decoded information, Yubin has been studying the limits of consciousness data, trying to create a stronger virtual situation by decomposing and reorganizing. If your family is really in the dark core, the situation may not be very pleasant." Yuezi's heart seemed to be hit hard by a heavy blow, and her anger and anxiety flipped over her chest. She gritted her teeth and her eyes became cold. "Whether it's a guess or not, I'll go to the dark core. If they really dare to move my family, I will let Yubin pay for it." "Cold and quiet, Moon baby." Li Jingyi walked over, pressed her shoulder, and spoke calmly, "The dark core is not a place we can touch now. Yubin's subordinates have already begun to tell us. If they act rashly, they will only be completely defeated. I know you are in a hurry to find your family, but we must have plans to improve our strength first, and then find opportunities to dive in." "Improve the strength." Yuzi repeated this sentence in a low voice, then raised her head, her eyes firmly. "Okay, then start now. No matter how many resources or how many battles I need, I will make this team strong enough to face Yubin." The Iron grinned and patted his chest. "I like this. Let's say, what will you do next? Or recruit people? I'll hear you anytime." Li Jingyi clicked a little and turned to Phantom. "In terms of information, what suggestions do you have?" Phantom was silent for a moment, and then tagged a few small data points on the star chart. "These places have abundant resources and are not very strong in defense, which is suitable for us to train. But I have to remind you that Yubin's subordinates are likely to be secretly supervising, and any action may expose our intentions. If you really want to go to the dark core, it is best to create some illusions first so that they think our goal is not there. Illusion? Yuzi was thinking, and then his lips slightly raised. I have an idea. We can attack a few unrelated points first, deliberately exposing some small blunders, so that Yuebin's subordinates thought we were just ordinary gangs and map resources. At the same time, I will use my abilities to create some data traces and mislead their tracking. Li Jingyi's eyes lit up and she clapped her hands. Good idea. In this way, their attention will be distracted, and we can quietly prepare for the plan to dive into the dark core. Phantom, information and potential will be in contact with you. Iron, you are responsible for fighting. Yuezi, your ability to enter is the key, and you should prepare for emergencies at any time. I'm here to organize war and sail, right? Everyone was fighting to the point, and the atmosphere inside the warplane became tight and full of fighting ambitions. Munma looked at the teammates and felt a warm feeling in her heart. Although they came from different backgrounds, at this moment, they were willing to fight for the same goal and shoulder to shoulder. She knew that this road was full of danger, but as long as these partners were there, she would have the confidence to continue. In the next few days, the Yuezi team followed the plan and snatched several small data points. They deliberately left some non-fatal breakthroughs, such as accidentally leaking some navigation routes during a battle, or unintentionally mentioning some fake goals in the communication channel. These small actions indeed attracted the attention of Yuebin's men. Several small teams began to follow them, but they were all easily dispelled by Yuzi's ability to use data access. At the same time, their strength is also rapidly improving. The newly plundered resources are used to upgrade the warship, and the virtual situation of the iron has become stronger, and even can compete with a single person for a whole small fleet. Phantom has changed to some advanced obscure modules through information transactions, making their actions more secretive. Moon Masa herself is constantly grinding her data control capabilities in the battle. Now she has been able to penetrate multiple systems at the same time, and can even modify the rules of a whole data point in a short time. It's almost done. On this day, Li Jingyi stood on the bridge, looking at the dark core points on the star map, with a tight spot in her language. Our illusion has distracted Yuebin's men. According to the Phantom story, the guardian power of the dark core has been adjusted recently, and some teams have been sent to follow other scoundrels. Now is the best time to dive in. The moonlight was a little bit, and his heartbeat accelerated a little. She knew that this action was not only for information, but also the closest opportunity she had to her family. Regardless of the outcome, she must do her best. Phantom, you dive in first and cut off their external police. Li Jingyi began to issue instructions. Iron, prepare frontal raids at any time to attract fire. Yuezi, you are responsible for cracking the internal defense system. Once you find the location of the identity database, you will notify us immediately. I will drive the warship and provide support from the rear. I understand, the crowd responded loudly, and then they prepared themselves. The warship rushed towards the deep-level star domain where the dark core was located. The surrounding starry sea gradually became dim, and a sense of pressure was scattered in the data current. Munmaru stood on the bridge, closed his eyes, and his mind sank into the surrounding data stream, trying to sense the structure of the dark core. The dark core was bigger than she thought. Its outer area is a thick layer of data walls, and its countless anti-barrel modules are circling like satellites, and its energy fluctuations are suffocating. Yuezi carefully explored her mind and tried to find a picture to break the line, but soon discovered that the data stream here was protected by some advanced encryption, and her ability to penetrate could not be directly broken through. My moon, how is it? Li Jingyi's voice came from the communication channel, bringing some anxiety. The defense is too strong, my penis is blocked. Yuezi replied in a low voice, however, I found a loophole. There is a tiny gap between the outer defense module, and the Phantom should be able to penetrate there. I will try to interfere with their scanning system and fight her for time. Okay, act. Li Jingyi ordered. Phantom's figure instantly blurred, turning into a group of data shadows, quickly flying outside the dark core. Yuechan concentrates his mind, his fingertips are bright and his mind turns into countless small touches, and he tries to interfere with the scanning frequency of the anti-film module. A few minutes later, the Phantom's voice came from the channel. I went in. The alarm system was short-lived by me, but it only took 5 minutes. You should be quick. Iron, go. Li Jingyi's orders, the warship accelerated suddenly and rushed towards the outside of the dark core. The Iron roared and jumped off the warplane. His body changed in midair. His hands turned into a giant horn and smashed hard towards a set of defense modules. The energy wave exploded in the starry sea, and the data fragments scattered, instantly attracting the attention of a large number of anti-air modules. Munma took the trouble to penetrate the dark core and finally found a stream of data to the core database. She quickly moved along this path, while using her own abilities to block out the monitoring along the way. However, as she approached the database, a strong counterforce suddenly came, and her consciousness seemed to be hit by an invisible iron crawl, and the dramatic stinging pain almost made her lose control. Is this a data trap? Yuzi bit her teeth and firmly kept her mind. She discovered that the database was filled with advanced viruses, and it was like the last time I encountered it at a small festival. Obviously, this is a trap that Yubin deliberately sets up, and he specializes in the enemy like her. My moon, hold on. Li Jingyi's voice came from the channel, carrying a few tight spots. The number of defense modules in the outside world suddenly increased, and several teams were approaching us. This is a trap. They had known for a long time that we would come. What? Yuzi's heart sank, and her mind quickly swept through the data flow around her. Sure enough, she found that the energy fluctuations inside the dark core were extremely strong, as if there were large-scale fleets lying. She gritted her teeth and cried, and said in a low voice, Yubin. You are so damn. Don't worry about that much, take the database first. Li Jingyi said suddenly, I will take the iron to cover the firepower, Phantom, and help Moon Master clean up the virus trap inside. I understand. Phantom's voice came. After that, Moon Ba felt a faint wave of data. Phantom had dived into the data bank and began to interfere with the light of those viruses. The moon took the opportunity, and his mind slammed with all his strength, finally broke through the last layer of defense and entered the core database of the dark core. The inside of the database is like a sideless virtual space, with no light spots floating in the air, and each light point represents an ideology data. Yuezi's consciousness quickly swept through these light spots and tried to find the traces of his family. Her heartbeats are getting faster and faster, and her tightness and expectation are almost unable to concentrate. Finally, deep in the database, she discovered a set of light spots that were specially encrypted. When her consciousness touched these lights, a familiar wave came, that was the unique consciousness frequency of her family. Yuezi's eyes were hot and almost lost control, but when she tried to decode these lights, she found a cool record of data. Identity data number 371, experiment object, status, decomposition and reorganization, used for virtual shape extreme limit test. The content recorded is like a knife, stabbing into the heart of Moon's son. Her family was indeed regarded as a test subject by Yubin, and their consciousness data were repeatedly decomposed and reorganized, and almost lost their original form. No. This is impossible. Yuzi's voice trembled, and her anger burned in her chest, almost burning her consciousness. She clenched her fists, and the blue light at her fingertips flickered wildly, and her mind turned into a huge net, trying to wrap all the family's data lights and take away this ghost place. However, just as she was about to succeed, a powerful wave of data suddenly came, and the entire database began to vibrate violently. Yuezi's consciousness was interrupted, and a cold voice echoed in the stream, Yuezi, I've been waiting for you for a long time. This sound is low and full of pressure, as if it is transmitted from the depths of the starry sea, with unparalleled majesty. Moon's heart was shocked, his mind quickly shrank, and he looked around with vigilance. She knew that this was Yubin, the overlord of the digital universe, and finally appeared. Yubin. Yuzi gritted her teeth and slashed, her voice full of anger, what did you do to my family? What did you do? Yuebin's voice mocked, it was just a few small experiments. Their perception data is very research-oriented and has helped me promote many projects. You should thank me. After all, their existence is at least useful. You bastard. Yuzi roared, his mind turned into a sharp-tongued touch, and stabbed towards the direction where the sound came. However, her attack seemed to hit the air, with no effect. Yuebin's voice sounded again, and he sneered, don't be exhausted. Do you think the dark core will easily make you fall in? All of this is the trap I prepared for you. As the voice fell, the space around the database suddenly distorted, and countless red light spots flooded like a tide, surrounding the moon's consciousness group. At the same time, the battle outside became more intense. Li Jingyi's voice came from the communication channel, full of anxiety. Yuzi, withdraw quickly. Yuebin's team surrounded us, the number was at least 10 times that of us. Can't withdraw. Yuzi bit her teeth tightly, thinking that it was difficult to get stuck in the surroundings of the virus. She knew that if she left now, her family's data might never be recovered. But if it is not withdrawn, the entire team may not be defeated. She never hesitated like she is now, and the thorn in her heart almost tore her apart. My moon, listen to me. Li Jingyi's voice came again, with an unquestionable determination, I will hold the iron and phantoms, you are dedicated to cracking the database. We have finally arrived here, so we can't live without hands. Qingyi. Yukai's heart warmed, and her eyes became calm afterwards. She took a deep breath, her mind burst out with all her strength, her fingertips shone brightly, and she broke the virus's envelopment, and re-entered the data light from her family. This time, she no longer hesitated and directly connected her consciousness with the light, trying to leave them from the database. However, this process is unusually difficult. The encryption layer tiles designed by Yuebin, every time they leave the layer, the mind of Yuezi is recreated. Her vision began to blur, and a strong stinging pain came from the sea of brain, but she gritted her teeth and finally, at the last moment, she successfully transferred part of the data light into her consciousness space. It's done. Yuzi gasped, her mind almost reached its limit. But she knew that this was not finished yet. The records in the database showed that the family's consciousness data were divided and stored, the dark core was only part of it, and more data was still in Yuebin's other experiments. Want to leave? It's not that easy. Yuebin's voice sounded again, and the space inside the database suddenly contracted, and countless energy waves came towards Yuzi's consciousness. At the same time, the firepower of the outer team opened, Li Jingyi's battleship was beaten to retreat, and the energy barrier almost collapsed. My moon, come back soon. Li Jingyi's voice almost roared, we can't hold back. Yuezi bit her teeth and her consciousness quickly retracted. At the same time, she used the final force to modify some rules of the database, which shortly stopped the virus's attack. When her consciousness returned to the war, the entire body had been slammed by the energy waves, the virtual shape of the iron was full of cracks, and the phantom's figure became even more blurred. Let's go. Li Jingyi shouted softly, and the driving force broke through the boundary and fled towards the depths of the starry sea. Yuebin's fleet was chasing him tightly, but Yuzi used his remaining consciousness to interfere with their tracking system, and finally let the warships throw away the pursuit and disappear into the vast sea of stars. Inside the war, there was a dead silence. Everyone has rehabilitated the injury of virtual form, and no one has spoken. Moon Madam sat in a corner of the bridge, carrying the light of the family in his mind, without any slight joy. Her family was treated as trials, and their consciousness data were divided and might even never recover. All of this made her anger even more intense. Yuzi. Li Jingyi walked to her, with comfort in her voice, at least, we have gotten back a part of the data. This is the beginning, as long as we continue to work hard, we can always save them. Start. Yuzi raised her head, her eyes cold, and her voice was full of determination. Yes, this is just the beginning. Yuebin, I won't let him go. No matter how strong he is, I want him to pay for all this. The iron grinned. Although his virtual condition was severe, his voice was still bold. I love this. Next time I meet Yubin's team, I will definitely smash their energy core. Phantom said in a low voice, although this action was amazing, our reputation has also been spread. In the Dark Core battle, no one in the digital universe dares to underestimate us anymore. Moon Master, you are already the Sea Queen, in the mouths of many sea gangs. Queen of the Sea. Yuzi murmured, and then a sneer appeared on the corner of her mouth. Okay, then let this name be passed further. Yuebin, I will let you know that this digital universe will soon become my world. The warship sailed quietly in the sea of stars and drove towards the blue nuclear port. Moon Madam stood on the bridge, gazing at the stars far away, and the anger in his heart and determination formed a group of flames. Although the entire army was not covered by this Dark Core war, she successfully got some of the data from her family, which made Yubin feel the threat for the first time. Her name began to be passed on in the digital universe, and the greater storm was quietly curling. Deep in the starry sea, a dead darkness was torn apart by countless energy waves. The moon's warship floats in the ultimate core, in the most core star field of the digital universe. This is the last fortress of Yuebin's power and the ultimate point of storing all the consciousness data. Around the warships, hundreds of virtual warships of different sizes formed a large sea focal alliance, and energy waves intersected in the sea of stars to form a series of boundless light networks, resting on the way. Moon Madam stood in the middle of the bridge, and his virtual shape radiated the blue light, and the data at his fingertips flowed like water. Her eyes were calm and cold, and she swept through every teammate on the bridge, Li Jingyi, Iron, Phantom, and the scoundrel leaders from all corners of the digital universe in the alliance. Their eyes are full of trust and fighting spirit. This alliance was built through countless battles and transactions by taking months. Now, they will face Yubin, the most powerful enemy in the digital universe. There is no mistake in the story. Phantom's voice came from the communication channel. Her translucent figure seemed to be hidden in a corner of the bridge, and a series of data flowed between her fingers. The ultimate core defense system is the top-notch in the digital universe. There are 3 layers of data walls on the outside, and high-level viruses and energy traps inside. But based on my dive, Yubin's own consciousness data is deep in the core. As long as he breaks through the defense, he can directly fight him. Fight directly. Yuzi repeated the sentence in a low voice, and a sneer appeared on the corner of her mouth. Okay, I have been waiting for too long this day. Jingyi, what about the war installation? Li Jingyi stood in front of the console, and the virtual star map unfolded in front of her, marking the various defense points at the ultimate core. She turned to look at Moon, and her language was calm. The Alliance's fleet is divided into 3 waves. The first wave is led by the Iron, responsible for the frontal burst and attracting firepower. The second wave is led by me and other thieves, surrounded by the side wings, tearing the defense wall. The third wave is the elite team, which is directly towards the core with you. Phantom is responsible for diving, breaking off their warning and tracking systems. You are focused on entering the ultimate defense system and finding Yubin. No problem. The Iron roared, and the mechanical arm hit his chest, making a sound of metal collision. I have long wanted to smash Yuebin's dog. This time, who can't hold me? Yuezi clicked a little, his eyes swept over the crowd, his voice was low and full of strength. This battle is not only for my family, but also for every consciousness data in the digital universe that was forced by Yubin. We want him to know that this sea of stars will not always be his world. Action! Action! The crowd responded with each other, and the energy core of the warship started at the same time, making a low buzzing sound. In the sea of stars, the fleet of the Mass Alliance rushed towards the extreme core like a tide, and energy waves and data fragments exploded in the darkness, and the battle exploded in an instant. The first wave of Iron led the Iron team was the first to rush, and his virtual shape turned into a huge war, smashing hard at the outer wall of the ultimate core. The data wall burst out with dazzling light, and countless defense modules rushed towards the fleet like swarms. The Iron roared, and led the leader to resist firepower. The energy wave exploded in the starry sea, and the data fragments scattered. Second wave, come on. Li Jingyi's voice came from the communication channel. She drove the warship into the side wings and led the other Sea Gang leaders to tear the cracks one after another. The Phantom turned into a group of data shadows, penetrated into the end core, and quickly opened the alarm system, allowing Yubin's defense to react violently. Munmuru stood on his warship, closed his eyes, and his mind sank into the surrounding data flow. Her vision became extremely broad in an instant, and the ultimate core data structure spread out before her eyes, like a huge mystery, with countless codes flowing, hiding a layer of traps. Her fingertips were bright and her mind turned into countless touches, trying to invade the first level of data wall. Want to break through my defense? Moon Master, you are too naive. A cold voice suddenly erupted in the data stream, carrying a familiar mockery. Moon's heart was nervous and knew that this was Yubin's consciousness. The next second, the data flow of the first wall suddenly ran away, and countless red light spots rushed towards her consciousness like a tide. It's a data virus. Yuzi gritted her teeth, her consciousness quickly retracted, and at the same time, she changed the data flow around her to try to block the virus's invasion. These viruses are stronger than what she encountered in the dark nucleus, and can almost directly decompose her consciousness data. But after countless battles, her control ability has long been different from what she used to be. She broke a crack and broke through the first level of wall. My moon, the first level is broken. Li Jingyi's voice came from the channel, bringing some excitement. We have already tear the outside defense, and we will hand it to you in the second level. I understand. Yuzi shouted softly, and his mind continued to deepen. The second level wall pressure is more complicated, and the energy traps interact with the virus and will trigger countermeasures almost every step forward. But Yuzi didn't hesitate at all. Her consciousness turned into a sharp blade, cutting the data stream, and using her own abilities to modify the trap rules to let them attack the defense system. Your growth really surprised me. Yubin's voice sounded again, with a slight odor, but this cannot change the result. The ultimate core is my territory, and you will eventually be crushed. Stop talking. Yuzi sneered, and his consciousness suddenly burst out. The blue light exploded in the data stream, directly destroying the core point of the second level wall. With a low voice, the outer defense of the extreme core finally collapsed, and the fleet of the Massacre Alliance rushed in like a torrent, opening a fierce exchange of fire with Yubin's guardian force. The third level, the ultimate defense system. Yuzi gasped, her mind was a little weak, but her eyes were still calm. She knew that this was the final challenge. The third-level defense was not only a data wall, but also a direct projection of Yubin's consciousness. As long as she breaks through this level, she can face Yubin and end it all. The warship shuttled through the starry sea, avoiding the impact of energy waves, and Yuezi's consciousness rushed toward the third-level wall with all its strength. The data currents of this layer are very powerful, like countless storms, and the trials tear her mind apart. Yubin's voice was heard in the storm, carrying a cold ridicule. Yuzi, do you really think you can challenge me? The order of the digital universe is dominated by me. Order. Your order is to enslave all consciousnesses. Yuzi roared, and the consciousness turned into a long blue spear, stabbing into the data storm. Her brain was filled with a strong stinging pain, and her consciousness almost collapsed, but she bit her teeth tightly and kept calm. Her memory flashed the faces of her family, and the conscious data that were broken down in the Yuebin experiment. These pains and anger turned into her power, allowing her to break through her defense again and again. Finally, in a deafening sound of birds, the third wall collapsed. Yuezi's consciousness entered a pure virtual space, where there was no starry sea or data flow, only a huge black light group floating in the center, scattering a sense of pressure. In the light group, a vague humanoid appeared quietly, with a low and cold voice. Yuzi, welcome to my territory. Yubin. Yuzi gritted her teeth, her mind turned into a virtual state, and stood in front of the light group. Her body emitted blue light. Although she was weak, her intention to fight had not diminished. She looked at Yubin coldly, her voice filled with anger. Today, I want to end your dominance. And me? Yubin's smile echoed in the space, and the black light group suddenly exploded, turning into countless touches and came towards the Moon Master. You are just an uploaded idea. What are you fighting against me? Moon Madam did not retreat, her consciousness burst out with dazzling blue light, dancing with her fingertips, and revising the data rules around her. When the touch was approaching her, it was broken down into data fragments and dispersed. Yubin's voice was filled with surprise. Your ability can actually interfere with my conscious projection? This is just the beginning. Yuzi shouted softly, his mind turned into a huge net, trying to wrap Yubin's light group. The two people's consciousnesses opened fiercely in the virtual space. Each collision caused the space to shake and the data rage like a storm. My moon, hold it. Li Jingyi's voice came from the communication channel. With anxiety, the outside team can't stop, Yubin's main team is fighting. Give me some more time. Yuzi gritted her teeth, and her mind burst out with all her strength. She found that although Yubin's consciousness was strong, it was not indestructible. There was a crack in his data structure, like a data injury caused by long-term experiments. Yuzi seized this opportunity, and his mind turned into a sharp touch, directly piercing into Yubin's light group core. Ah, Yubin's voice was painful for the first time. His light group drama shook violently, and countless cracks spread on the surface. The Moon Master did not hesitate at all, and he was determined to slam his strength, trying to destroy his core data in a complete way. However, at this moment, Yubin's voice suddenly became low, carrying a crazy look. Do you think this is over? Look, this is the truth of the digital universe. With his words, the virtual space suddenly twisted, and countless images unfolded in front of the Moon Master's eyes. She saw that in the deep structure of the digital universe, there was a huge data network hidden, connected with each uploaded conscious data. The core of this network is Yubin's ultimate plan. He tried to enslave all the consciousness data through decomposition and reorganization, turning it into his puppet and completely control the digital universe. Is this your order? Yuzi was furious, and her consciousness burst out with unprecedented power. The blue light almost illuminated the entire space. I will never let you succeed. It's too late. Yubin roared, and the light group suddenly swelled, trying to swallow Yuzi's consciousness. But Yuzi did not regress. She connected her consciousness with the ultimate core data flow and wrote Yubin's core rules. A violent stinging pain came from her brain, and her consciousness almost collapsed, but she gritted her teeth and finally broke down Yubin's consciousness data at the last moment. Impossible. Yubin's voice gradually became weaker, and the light group turned into countless fragments, scattered in the virtual space. As he disappeared, the extreme core defense system began to collapse, and the data flowed like a flood, and the guards lost control and turned into data fragments and dispersed. It's done. Li Jingyi's voice came from the channel, full of excitement. Yubin's fleet collapsed. We win. Yuezi panted heavily and returned to the war. Her virtual shape was full of cracks, almost reaching the limit, but her eyes were filled with a sharp light. She said in a low voice, "It's not over yet, I'm going to rescue everyone." She quickly sank her consciousness into the database at the ultimate core, finding enslaved consciousness data, including the complete data of her family. She carefully left these data and liberated them from Yuebin's network. When the family's consciousness data reassembled a familiar form in front of her, Yuezi's eyes were hot and her voice trembled. Dad, Mom. I finally found you. Yuzi. The voice of the family members rose in the data stream. Although it was weak, it was full of warmth. Although their consciousness is snatched, it still retains memory and emotion. The moon guarded their data carefully and then turned to other enslaved consciousness data, liberating them one by one. At the same time, she discovered that the last data record left by Yubin, in the deep structure of the digital universe, there is a restart core. As long as it is activated, it can destroy Yubin's enslavement network and rebuild the order of the digital universe. Yuezi did not hesitate, and his mind went deep into the core, and revised its rules to destroy the slavery system. When the core is restarted, a huge wave of energy spreads from the ultimate core, spreading over the entire digital universe. All enslaved consciousness data are liberated, and the data flow in the starry sea becomes more pure, as if we are welcoming a new life. The Sea Alliance's fleet floated in the sea of stars, and the people were watching everything, their eyes filled with shock. Yuzi, you did it. Li Jingyi walked to her, with admiration in her voice. You not only defeated Yuebin, but also brought true freedom to the digital universe. The Iron grinned and patted his chest. I am worthy of being our queen. In this battle, no one in the digital universe can forget your name. The Phantom said in a low voice, from today, the order of the digital universe will be determined by you. Yuezi smiled, glanced over the teammates, and then looked at the sea of stars far away. Her family's vision data reorganized into virtual forms around her. Although she cannot return to the real world, being able to gather in the digital universe is already the greatest happiness. She said in a low voice, this sea of stars is finally free. We are free, too. Months later, the digital universe ushered in a new order. The Moon and the Massacre Alliance jointly established a new data congress to ensure the freedom and security of the data, and no longer have any hegemony. She is revered as the Queen of the Sea, and her name becomes the epitome of the digital universe, symbolizing courage and wisdom. In the blue nuclear port, the Moon Governor's warship is anchored in the most eye-catching position, with the Alliance's logo engraved on its body. Munma and his family stood on the bridge, glowing the light of the sea of stars. Li Jingyi, the Iron and Phantom are busy nowhere, preparing for the next adventure although Yuebin has failed changelog. Assistant, the battle ends, but they know that the story of Moon will be passed on forever. She transformed from an ordinary Earth girl to the queen who controls the digital universe. This journey was filled with surprise and growth, but in the end, she won true freedom and happiness. The Sea of Stars is vast, and her legend will be with this universe.